my whole mindset has been the growth of being able to like get to a certain point and like help a lot of people. So I don't really focus on the competition. I don't really focus on the disadvantages that Toronto infrastructure has for like clothing and starting your own brand. I'm also focused on just like creating your own wave, which I've done. And at some point breaking out of just the Toronto market, because like the States is where it's at.
100%. First of all, I'm gonna need you to tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a mother effing friend to follow and subscribe to your boys. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other podcast platforms as well. You can catch us on YouTube and TikTok. That's Far From Normal Podcast. Make sure you type that into the search engine. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the content. You know your boys are doing their thing. We got www.farfromnormal.com. Make sure you check that out as well. We got the visuals down there, pictures, and all our links are up there. So make sure if you guys are interested in the podcast, you show some love. You already know where to find your boy and the podcast. It's on Insta, far_from_normal_podcast. Hit that up. Make sure you like and follow. And your boy Fuzzy Vision with 2 N's. You know I see the world clear every single day. And if you have any likes, dislikes, rebuttals, or want to be on the podcast, hit your boy up. Sonny, let him know the handle, baby.
You already know what it is. It's your boy, Sonny Frames. You can catch me at Sonny, SONNY Frames, double S at the end. When you check me out on my Instagram, make sure you check out my stories. And I always stress my stories because I post a lot of things that has to do with great men in this world and what they've achieved in a lifetime. And usually that has to deal with motivation, inspiration, chasing your dream, and execution. All of us have dreams, but the people that actually make it in this world are the ones that execute on their dreams.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So if you just sitting there living in dream world, things will not happen. I repeat, things will not happen. So you definitely need to be more proactive and get things done. Fuzzy, let's get them.
Right, you already know what time it is. It's the Far From Normal Bros, and we back at it again. First of all, we're going to have to shout out the first and last time listeners, those that are just coming into the podcast, those that have been listening to the podcast, those that support us, those that hate us. It is what it is. We appreciate you all, of course. Those that are coming in on their interview, a special shout out to them, the interviewees. They give us such good content, good information.
Yes, sir.
They get the podcast going, man. That's what we do. At the end of the day, we're trying to connect. It's not just about the podcast. It's trying to connect with people, trying to, understand the different dynamics of relationships, business, entrepreneurship, creation.
Yes.
All these different aspects that come to life.
Sir.
Life's not, one little simple concept. It's multifaceted. It has to do with a lot. So that's what we do here. We preach Far From Normal. We're always doing things differently. Sonny, what you got to say on the matter, man?
I definitely got to thank family and friends. Got to thank our haters and our lovers. Got to thank everybody that's been keeping up since the very beginning.
Yep.
Viewers and listeners. Everyone that has critiques, that's given us critiques and helped us make the podcast even better than it is right now. And we're going to continuously learn and grow from what we've currently been putting out, and we're going to make it better, and we're going to be more detail oriented, and we're going to make sure that we make this content as great as possible. So now we're going to get right into the topic, and this topic is very interesting because it has to deal with entrepreneurship, and this is something that we're really into because we're entrepreneurs ourselves. So right before we get into that, we got our panel member, Jiraiya the Wise, in the building. Woo-wee. Let's get it. That's another entrepreneur right there.
There you go. Smart brother right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All that wisdom.
What's the vibes? How you feeling, Jiraiya?
I'm feeling great. Yourself?
Oh, we great, man. We good.
Man.
We
always
great.
far from normal. That's the feeling we got. We always far from normal. That's always the feeling we got.
Amen to that.
Yes, sir. And then for our second guest, now we're talking about our special guest.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
We're talking about a guy that's in the industry. He's trying to crack the fashion world. He's really going in there. He's doing his work behind the scenes. Mad genius himself.
Let's get it.
We are about to introduce him. Put him on cam. Let's go, man. We got. Introduce yourself, sir. Introduce yourself.
Let's get it.
Ricks.
Let's go.
Mr. POV.
Let's get it. Let's drop the bomb, man. Let's drop the
Yes,
bomb.
sir.
Let's
Yes,
go.
sir.
We need that energy, man. We need that energy, man.
Let's get it,
Povrich,
Rich.
shout out Povrich.
Ready.
We got
That's
Povrich
good, bro.
in the building.
Looking clean, my guy. Looking clean.
Street clothing brand himself. You see him rocking it. You see that tee right there?
You see that Povrich, you know what to do. That P.
Woo-wee, boy.
You got to see that P. When you see that P, you know what time it is.
You already know what
who-
time it is.
That's it. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Ricks on the podcast. You already know, for both you and Jiraiya coming on the podcast, we always appreciate that, of course. But we're going to get right into the topic,
Yes,
man.
sir.
We're going to talk about,
But before we even get into
sir.
it, man, we got to hear a little bit about Rick himself, man.
Okay.
We need to hear a little about Povrich. Where'd that start? What's the history behind Povrich? How did that come together? Let's hear about that.
Nah, Povrich is just I feel like at this point in my career and everything that I've accomplished, Povrich is like for the youth, for the person that felt like they've been shitted on or like started from nothing and was able to like build into something that people thought that like wasn't gonna go anywhere. Pretty much just like a perseverance image, you know. But yeah, Povrich started from the ends. Jane and Lauren, shout out Southside
Okay.
Jane,
Shout out.
Queens.
Shout out the city. This is Toronto.
Yeah, definitely. And just from the lobby of the place where I grew up, that's where the name came from, Poverty to Riches, because I wasn't born into like any leverage. You feel me? I had to figure it out myself. I had to put in hours on YouTube late at night, learn how to sew, and amass everything that I have right now. So yeah, it's really from like one end to the other, but just always like leveling up.
Okay.
That's interesting because when it comes to clothing brands, especially in the city, we were talking about, branding in the city, branding in Toronto, trying to create a brand here. There's not so much publicity in Toronto in terms of social media, celebrities, big, meeting spots where, entrepreneurs, like-minded people can really meet up. From at least my experience, I haven't seen it that much compared to, other cities that are a little bit, more advanced when it comes to, linking people together that have the same ideology, especially when it comes to creating different things and businesses on their own, not relying on working for a company or something like that. So when it comes to your whole brand, and when it comes to this whole Povrich thing, because I think it's a genius idea, honestly. When I think of Povrich and
100%.
that
The name is
mixture of the name, that shit's fire. I don't
Crazy.
even lie to you. dude.
Crazy.
It's one of those things. That's a bomb.
That's a bomb.
That was a clever play of words. You
Oh,
did there.
100%.
And-
100%.
And I like that you're promoting from that
It's like,
aspect.
it's like oxymoronic in that sense.
Yes, exactly. So when it comes to you, trying to develop your brand, you now start your brand, right? And trying to develop it in the city, how has the challenges been with you trying to create your brand in a city that's not so entrepreneur-minded?
I would say like overall, I feel like it's just my whole mindset has been the growth of being able to like get to a certain point and like put a lot of people on or like help a lot of people. So I feel like I don't really focus on the competition. I don't really focus on the disadvantages that Toronto infrastructure has for like clothing and starting your own brand. And like I'm more so focused on just like creating your own wave, which I've done. It's like creating your own like following of people that like really intensely support the brand no matter what, and then like growing from that and making it global. And at some point breaking out of just the Toronto market, because like the States is where it's at.
Oh, 100%. Well, one, they have a
yeah.
lot more people, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
two, they're a lot more entrepreneur-minded in
Yes.
that sense, right? I think they push the entrepreneurship a lot harder in the States than they do in Toronto. I think Toronto is more
Like the States is more naively supportive. Like they'll just if they fuck with it, they're like, yo, I fuck with that. Like, you know, it doesn't matter.
And in Toronto,
Toronto's like, fuck with it. You're my dog, but like, oh, he's wearing it. I fuck with it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So they,
clout based.
that's Toronto.
so it's
definitely.
basically clout based.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But like the States, that's why you could just amass so much, because it's just, if people generally fuck with your shit and it's dope and it's hard.
Yeah.
Like I just went to New York, and I won't say his name, but like the stylist just see me wearing my shit, and he's like, yo, what the fuck? What is that?
Wow.
Like inquiring or whatever. And I found out who he was, and I was like, oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? But like that's just like the general aspect of, I feel, of the States.
Wow.
Whereas over here, it's like you gotta either put in your work, and like get known and like build your own following, or it's just like if someone's wearing your shit, that's just like, oh, who's that? Then like I fuck with it just because, like, you know what I mean? But yeah.
So Drive, what do you think about that in terms of like how Toronto, how they govern themselves in terms of, oh, when they see somebody wearing specific clothing, then it becomes cool. But it's never like, if they see it, they can never be the first. They have to wait and see the trends happen, and like a wave kind of happening or a trend happening or this clout base, and then jumping on board. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, he basically summarized it. He summarized it the way it is. I think people, they want to see you tried and true first. From what I understand about the city, support comes when it seems that you're about to break that threshold of fame.
Yes.
But prior to that, it seems like, in a sense, people just watch you almost like grind. And it's not a situation where it's like they want to watch you grind because it's like you can do it. It's more like, I don't believe in you until you made me believe in you.
100%, yeah.
Which to some people can help them. Depends on the kind of build you are, like, you know, the kind of mode you live like. But to others, it can be actually quite crippling if you don't get that initial support, because you might have to question yourself and say, am I even in the right industry? Is this something I need to do? But, you know, that's how I see it.
So, okay, yeah, I definitely hear you on that. This is a question for Rix. What inspired your clothing design and the collection that you have? Like, why streetwear? Why couldn't it have been more formal wear? Like, why didn't you go? Because I'm sure you have friends that are into formal attire, right? But you chose to go down the street route. So why did you choose that specifically?
I feel like the idea for streetwear morphs into like street luxury over time as I like grow.
Okay.
But the initial point of why I started the brand was not being able to afford things in Holt Renfrew.
Okay.
Like actually that was why I'd go in there and be like, I can't afford anything here, but I love it. And I feel like I can make this shit. And then I started like creating like my little cut and sew things, and then like grinding on YouTube to like learn how to sew. And then like the idea just like birthed itself. But like after like depending on like what collections that I'm releasing and like how I'm going, because each collection I drop is more so by like seasons, and like not in terms of like, oh, like it's fall, winter or whatnot, but it's just like how I feel. I base it off my life, like, you know what I mean? And depending on what I go through. But there might be a season for like street but formal wear, which you could see it in Off-White, like, you know what I mean? Or even here in Preston, those type of brands, like they do that little merge. But yeah, like the brand just always transcending and like growing, and me learning about myself even more is like, you never know, there might be a men's suit collection.
Oh,
like,
true.
You know what I mean?
True. Yeah. The stars are the
like
limit.
Streetwear just doesn't have any boundaries.
100%.
You know, so
especially with the name that you have as the brand, it can go from a huge amount of range. Like you have a lot of range to create different types of pieces. So that's very interesting. So your target audience, what's the demographic range are you looking at for when it comes to people purchasing your clothing brand?
I would say immediate response to that would be the young and reckless but cool ass kid.
Okay. And that would be around what age group are we talking about?
16 to even like 35. Man.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like if you could put that shit on, you could put that shit on. You feel me?
Okay.
There's no bounds to that. I feel.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we understand that, starting a clothing brand comes with its ups and downs. There's so many people that can, again, get a T-shirt, print it out somewhere, and then say they have a clothing brand.
Yeah.
So what makes you more, in terms of like legitimate than others? Because a lot of the times that when people release clothing, there's going to have to be a difference in terms of legitimacy. You can release stuff and just sell shit, just like anyone sells shit, but how do you make that difference? How did you make your brand into actual brand in terms of like the identity behind the brand? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people can go to anywhere and just throw their brand and say they've created something. But how did you get to the point of actually creating a movement behind it?
I'd say it's the material, the vibe, and the story. The story, and like if you've been following along for a while, how my lifestyle has grown and merged with the brand. You know what I mean? And like starting from gilding tees to now like cut and sew. It's like, which is like just like from raw, like scratch, my pattern, my idea, to like I look at the growth from that to this. It's like every brand that's like entry level, unless you have capital, which I didn't when I started, you're going to start with gilding tees and just get your friends to rock it. Try to make it cool. Try to make it a wave. But it's all about the story at the end of the day. Like, what story are you telling? What story are you portraying to people? And how relatable is it to, like, your audience? You know what I mean? Like, it's more so like, I fuck with this guy's vibe and what he's doing. I want to wear his shit because that's how I feel. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's what sets Povrich aside.
So lifestyle over the actual brand. Sometimes it's more of the lifestyle, the story behind the brand.
I feel like a mix of both. Like the lifestyle has to match the brand and what you're telling.
Okay, so even in terms of design, like where do you grab that inspiration from? Because in terms of, it's hard to mix your design and mix your message and have that come together. Because again, when I hear Povrich, there's so much aspects to that. Like I'm thinking, okay, Povrich, that's interesting. Like it's like poverty and rich combined. So where are we leaning towards? Are we leaning towards more like poverty styles, or not poverty style, but people maybe that don't have as much money styling certain gear a certain way, where it's maybe cheaper material, or it could be more of a luxury version? So I can think two ways, right? I can think more you're doing it more economic wise to help, those that don't maybe make necessarily as much money to get into that brand, or it could be towards the luxury side of the rich part and saying that I'm mixing those that maybe not able to have that same amount of money to purchase the high-end fashion brands. I can be that balance in between.
Yeah.
So do you think that's where you land in that, or do you want your brand to be like a luxury brand? Is that the ultimate goal?
Well, no, there's different tiers of the brand when I release things.
Yeah.
Like a graphic tee by itself is not gonna be like super crazy pricey, but some might. Like, you know what I mean? There's a wide range of just like the collection itself. If it's like a varsity jacket that like I've just put so much thought and effort into, and the materials are like crisp, then like it's gonna show in the price, right?
Yeah.
But like when I say story, it's like it doesn't matter if it's like a $40 shirt. The feeling that $40 shirt's gonna give someone that is really connecting to the brand is as if they're wearing something that's $500. You know what I mean? So that's why I push the story of the brand, and it aligns with what I'm making as well.
Okay.
So when you say you push the story of the brand, is it through like BTS, or do you got video footage of your process and the growing pains that you had, and now they're seeing you develop in real time? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that, and I conveyed that message in my first fashion show that I did.
Okay.
Because it was sponsored by Remy, which is like a luxe shot in the dark.
Wow.
Was going after it.
Wow.
And pretty much the show was titled "I Used to Dream of This."
Okay.
Because I would lay down at night, like this is when I was living at like Jen Lawrence, and try to like envision my life as being a fashion designer and just doing that. And then like whatever comes into that story and just growing with it, you know. But seeing like 400 people show up to my show, and it's my first show, and like obviously you have doubts. You know
of course.
But like when it all came to fruition, I was like, yo, I must be doing something right. I must be sharing a story. But that's really what it is about. Like people being super transparent to the audience and like sharing even the ups and downs that I go through with the brand on my personal page. You know what I mean? And documenting that. Like I had a whole I had a whole clip of when I went back to where I was like where Povrich first started and documenting the whole thing and made everyone in the show watch that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's the message that I'm trying to convey. Like, if we were to pinpoint it, like, yo, anyone could do this. If you really want to go at it, like, and not just like fashion, just like what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Manifestation is fucking powerful.
100%. You gotta see it to believe it first and foremost. Because if you can't see it, then it definitely won't happen, right?
Yeah, I want to ask Dry about that too, the manifestation at least point of things and just visualizing success before it happens. Is that something you do when it comes to success? Because people that are, at least in the creative field, have to have that type of confidence, maybe more so than somebody that works a corporate job or a regular, 9 to 5, because it's a little bit set up for you where you can rely on that. You don't need to rely on anything else. But when you're doing something on your own, you have to manifest some sort of, you have to have some type of belief in yourself, or at least some manifestation that you think is going to occur during your process. So with you, when it comes to visualization, manifestation, how's that process work with you? Do you believe in that, or is that something that you don't really pay attention too much to?
No, definitely I focus on that. You had on a guest in one of your previous episodes, I believe his name is Roger, and he was speaking about how when he's a stay-at-home parent, he's basically the be-all, end-all for his child. The child has to depend on him. Like, he has to make it work, otherwise it's not going to work. And so it's the same thing when I think about manifestation, where it's you have to make it work. You have to believe in yourself. When you think about the infrastructure, you think about, if you want to call it a 9 to 5 or a job, whatever have you, your career already, the industry already exists.
Yes.
The success, the pillars already exist. Whereas when we talk about entrepreneurship, individuals who want to go outside of the regular notion, it's like you have to trust yourself first, because no one tells you to come out, wake up in the morning to make these kind of positions. So even when he's speaking about the co-guest right here, when he's talking about Povrich, the first thing I thought of, actually, because this brand is new to me, the first thing I thought of is point of vision, right? That's what I thought the Pov to Povrich was initially, right? I thought it means your point of rich, how that looks like to you when you saw it first.
That's a different meaning,
yeah.
So that different
that's
point
how
of view.
I saw when you walked in. So I'm like, wow, that's what I was pondering. I was saying, wow, your point of view of wealth and what rich means to you. So bringing it back to manifestation, you have to see it first. If you don't see it first, you're dependent on what other people might have to do. So even the confidence, back to your point, the confidence will be there once you see, quote, the vision. Once you see the riches with your own eye, with your own perspective, with your own point of view, you can see that. Once you believe in yourself, really and truly, not to be cliche, but the sky will be the limit, or not the limit even.
100%. True. You place your own limitations on yourself.
Exactly.
For sure. 100%.
100%. And so I wanted also to ask Rick if you had any other collaborations or partnerships that helped your brand grow, or were you just kind of single-handedly doing everything on your own, and then eventually down the line, then people came in because they seen your vision and they understood what you were trying to convey, and then they just kind of joined the fold?
I actually have not gonna give too much away, but I got my first collab.
Oh man,
we
gotta give you a clap it up for that one.
It was a while in the works, and now it's coming. Yeah. She's an amazing spirit, and her energy to what she's bringing to the brand is amazing. So when we look back at this, like, shout out to you.
Shout out to her.
But up until now, man, it's been just me, and I formulated a sewing team and a graphic team. So everyone just like working together to create shit.
Wow.
I took a little break just to because this next collection that I'm dropping, is like it blew me away, and I really just had to dig really deep in my bag because I want to bring the brand to another level of where I think I can take it.
Okay.
And like when I say break, it's not just like the brand stopped. Like shit's still happening, but like for me, I had to really lock in mentally and like ground myself to what I want to create.
Okay. My question is, what keeps you motivated to keep pushing forward with the brand? Because with anything you start, especially when you do it as an individual, it's your project. You're the one that created it. It's not like someone created it for you. You're joining their team. That's a different thing. You created it. You came with the idea. You sat in those rooms, those lonely nights, and you had to think and write things down and execute and talk to this person and go to that shop and see material and figure out basically the things on your own. It's not like somebody held your hand and brought you to all the shops. So knowing that and knowing all the troubles you had to face going through that process, what keeps you motivated to keep continuously putting yourself through that stress? The reason why I say this is because it's stress to be successful. It's not easy. Everyone knows if you want to be successful in this world, it's going to be a lot of stressful nights that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have lonely nights. You're going to have nights where you're broke, where you spent it all, where you don't know, if you're going to eat that night because you invested in yourself. You put it all on the line and you're gambling on yourself. You're betting on yourself. So with that being said, it's easy for somebody just to be like, you know what, fuck it. Let me just go to the 9 to 5 and let me just do the regular shit because I can at least provide. I can at least live decently. It's not like we're in a third world country.
Yeah.
If you get a job here, you'll live decently. It won't be the best, but you'll live decently. So what motivates you to keep pushing to the next level?
Honestly, I trust myself more than I trust someone cutting a check and giving it to me. But the overall reason I feel that keeps driving me, there's many factors of this reason, but I was born in Jamaica pretty much into poverty. And I tell my mom this all the time, like she saved me and brought me to Canada.
Okay.
And just being through that journey, I still have family back home in Jamaica that I want to help. But as long as, like, even my mom, like, I feel like everyone in life deserves a fair shot of the other side. And I've gotten a glimpse at it. And I love it, so I just don't feel like anytime I'm going to need to stop and just being able to, like, when it's like 100 years later, I want, like, my kids to enjoy what I've created and give them, like, leverage in life to start, not from where I started. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. Like, it drives me. I guess
that's the
motivation
motivational
at night, man. Yeah.
There you go. There you have it.
All right. So that's interesting when you said that seeing the other side is what actually was the motivation. But prior to seeing the other side, what got you to that point where you said, "Hey, I want to be an entrepreneur"? Before anything, like, when did that? Do you know when that thought process, when it actually kicked in and you said to yourself, you know what, I'm going to grind it out, I'm going to figure it out? What was that turning point in your mind where you're like, no, this is what I'm going to do?
Honestly, I think I was always born to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
Like, because, okay, I think about high school and in grade 10, I was in a marketing class, and I'd skipped a marketing class for a grade 11 class. They put me in because the grade 10 class wasn't, like, to them good enough for me.
Oh, wow.
So they put me ahead. And I've always been able to, like, maneuver and use, like, my words and how I move. And I think overall my vibe to, like, just create an essence of what I'm doing. So, like, working a 9 to 5 was never me.
Wow.
Like, I'd be there. And I would accept, like, perfect
That's not
example.
me neither, buddy. It's
Real
not
shit,
me neither.
You feel me? It's like I'm at Champs, and I never forget this. I'm late, like, fucking 10 minutes. If you know me, I'm late. You feel me? I move in my own vibe, but
yeah,
I'm late 10 minutes, and I tell the manager, I'm like, yo, I'll stay an extra 10 minutes. But, like, there's losing the shit, and I'm like, bro, I can't be so restricted working for someone to build them up, and then having someone that's not even close to the top tell me what the fuck to do. You feel me? It just blew my mind, like shit like that. Like, Jesus Christ. I feel way too restrictive in a 9 to 5. And it's like at the end of the 5, it's like, what do you do after that? Yeah. Like I gotta wake up and go back to work the next day. So it's just too repetitive and like in a box for me. And I'm like, nah, my brain is like crazy in thoughts. So I just knew. I've worked multiple jobs, man. I just knew it's not. Like, I can't wake up and just work for someone.
No, I definitely hear you. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel the same way. But at the same time, I think a 9 to 5 helps in the sense of gives you capital to fund your entrepreneurial ventures, because you need capital at the end of the day. That's what's very important, right? And although we can have dreams and we can have this big idea of what we want and what we're trying to achieve, if we don't have the capital to set it off, then you're going to run into financial trouble, and that's what's going to stop the growth process.
Not necessarily. Because, okay, so I've worked sales job, full commission jobs, because like I said, like I'll bet on myself more than anyone. But it's like I've done that, I've saved up, and at a certain point I got to it, I'm like, yo, I can't work for anyone. I'm just gonna put it all in the brand. And that's just 100% believe in myself. And I just dropped everything. Obviously there's nights where like, fuck, I had to eat fries, like, you know what I mean, for like dinner, and like go and like cook certain things. But like the belief in myself is what like drove me. Investing in a collection. And I sort of got my first collection. I have a job failed because I was shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that learning process is like I failed so fast and I failed early, where like I got to learn and grow. And that's pretty much everything I invested. I got back to keep building the brand. So that's just how I look at it. Like, yeah, you could work. Like, you could work a 9 to 5. Don't get me wrong. Like, if that's you, that's you. You know what I mean? Can't really shit on it because like some people really don't know what they want to do. So like that keeps them like in like a perfect line. Like when people go back to school and they're like they don't know what they want to do. But for me, like
you knew.
I went to George Brown and I graduated in marketing. Like, you know what I mean? But then gave my mom the degree and said like, okay, fully in the brand now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's why I say like how far. I feel like when people work a 9 to 5 and they have their entrepreneurial thing on the side, it's like, how far do you want to go into that idea that you need the capital from this 9 to 5 before you fully commit to yourself?
Okay, before we get into that, I want Dry.
I was gonna ask Dry about that right now.
What's
in terms
the
of the 9 to 5, so so what Ricky was saying was that, you know, how far are you willing to go if you're working a 9 to 5 and trying to do entrepreneurial stuff on the side? Like, how willing are you how far are you willing to go in terms of, you know, potentially quitting that job, potentially moving on?
What would it take you to actually now move on and say, you know what, I'm committed 100% in building this empire or this business that I'm involved in? What would it take for you to be like, I'm going to turn my back on my 9 to 5?
Or do you play it safe? Is that the better option?
Keep going?
We want to know what would be the best option in that sense. Because a lot of guys can play it safe. They keep the job, work on the entrepreneurial stuff on the side. You do that so you ensure that you have a safety net. But sometimes with that safety net, you shoot yourself in the foot for other opportunities that you may have got had you know, cleared your schedule, cleared your mind, and focused and locked in on what you actually wanted.
Okay. So hearing Ricky speak from his childhood, he was talking about the 10th grade into being advanced. You can, at least for me, I'm able to hear how it seemed to me that he already had the it factor. So once you have the it factor, things figure itself out. It just opens up for you in a sense.
Facts, yeah.
Right? So it seems that he was directed by his motivation, but alongside he knows that eureka, that kind of, I know what I'm doing. So not everybody has that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not even sure if you can develop that. This is what makes individuals unique and special in the first place. So hearing how he was talking about, I believe the school was George Brown, how he's talking about it's, if he even looks back, I would even suggest that the things that he took in school was even mirroring and complementing what he's got going on now. Right? So maybe not everybody has that quick, hey, I'm doing this, that, and the third at aligns. He seems like it was already aligning whether he put a conscious thought to it or not. So that's what you can call blessed or lucky, whatever terms people want to use for that. So if you don't have that view, if you don't have that it factor, if you don't have, I'm going to be all right. This is what I'm almost born to be. It's in my blood and I can feel it. He seems like he can feel it. So that's why doors would open up for you a lot easier. Not to downplay the struggles and the hurdles that you might have to go through, but at least you have a trust in yourself. I wouldn't suggest that people who are listening quit your day job. You see what I'm saying? Don't quit your day job if you don't have that. If you don't have that kind of, if you aren't sure. Sometimes what happens, I'm starting to notice too on like social media. Some people will see entrepreneurs that made it, things that and the third, and they like the finish line.
Yeah.
And it's like that finish line. You wouldn't even see that, not to be downplaying on people's trajectory, but it's tough for you to see that if you don't have your own compass for yourself to even direct you to a finish line, right? So people like this individual here, he already has the finish line and the trajectory to get there. Don't quit your job. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing to berate when you have a 9 to 5. You need that for sustenance. And I also hear, maybe I'm not sure about Ricky, but I kind of hear when he speaks, I kind of hear a support system.
Yes.
Right? He was talking about his mother. He was talking about... He even has like almost, dare I say, a spiritual support system when he talks about the connectivity to Jamaica. So sometimes you have that kind of, if you want to call it spiritual, you have that spiritual support system. If you don't have these systems, you know,
it's a lot
you
tougher.
might want to you might want to tread slow. Don't quit your day job because you have an idea. What I'm hearing is very different from an idea. It's almost like a mission and a calling. So there's different ways of distinguishing which is which, right?
I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's that differentiation that you have to have when it comes to, you know, chasing a dream, chasing a goal. Like you said about the it factor that, you know, Ricky may have, that he believes in himself. That's inherent in him. That's not something that like I could have taught him and you know, someone had to teach him this.
But even to add to that, Billy, not to cut you off, to add to his belief system, he also spoke about trial and error. One thing I was hearing is he was talking about, right, where he's able to adjust. Because if you just believe in yourself and you're the only one believing,
I don't know. But he's able to adjust, which is amazing because you have to be able to pivot.
This is what I'm saying.
I think that's the hardest step to take. It's like, okay, I have an idea. Let me go outside and let me execute. Okay, fine. You did it.
Be humbled by the realities of the market too.
Be humbled because, you can think you're the shit. At the end of the day, you can come in the room and have confidence. You can be the popular guy from all your high school, all through your life. You're known as that popular. That guy's always cool. He's always done shit. He's always been, but what about your first failure? What happens now? Like, are you bouncing back? Exactly. Are you like, oh shit, I've always been popular. Now all of a sudden I'm looked at like as the kind of, you know, like they're looking at me like oh shit, that's whack or that's trash. And now you have to face a criticism you may have never faced in your life 100%. Because now you have to put yourself out there on a mantle for people to pick and take and just basically nitpick your whole thing of what you're doing. So I guess the question is for you, Ricky, dealing with that criticism from people from your past, because I know you must have had to deal with haters or people that are criticizing or critical of the work you're doing, saying, I don't really fuck with this shit, or I don't really mess with that, or I don't really I don't think he has it like that, or whatever the case may be. How do you deal with the negative reaction?
Yeah, the thing is, like, even to backtrack a little bit, is like, when I was in high school, I was the popular guy. I was with the popular clique and stuff. But then it came to a point in grade 12, and I do this, and I realized that I do this throughout my life, I think it's like, just to keep me humble. And then what touched on that and enhanced it was I watched and read a book called The Secret, and that's my grounding tool. That's like my like bro, I like.
You know the author?
It's very, 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 very hard.
I'm trying to remember the author.
I know the book. I know the book. I just don't remember the author.
Yeah, but
take a look.
It's like even right now, how I feel with like this new collection and what I'm doing is like that's why I'm being so quiet, because I'm like, hey, like I've been thriving, I've been doing well, but I'm like I need to level up and bring something crazy or new to the table. That's like, okay, we see why this guy, like, you know what I mean? And
still have to prove yourself. You feel like you still have to prove yourself.
Humbling myself and slowing everything down and letting everything come to me so I can interpret it in a creative way. But when it comes to like haters, bro, I had the whole Twitter against me at one point. You feel me?
I was just gonna
real
say,
shit, you know what I mean? And I came on
coming
like
at
even
you,
stronger,
man.
man. Fuck.
Coming from
I
my
was
boy's
gonna,
head.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say the secret. The actual author is Rhonda Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's the actual author of it. But for people that want to read The Secret
Yeah, man.
and believe
If
in
you guys-
manifestation,
If you guys want to dive deep in manifestation, and obviously keep God first, but there's a very parallel line with manifestation, speaking things out of your tongue that come true. And I personally witnessed it, and it's a real thing.
There you go.
Yeah. Fuck.
But like you said, when you had people coming at you in terms of even Twitter, social media, because now we have social media, so people can come at you on a different front. You can have people from across the country, you know, tearing up your name depending on, you know, what it is you released, what your opinion is. This happens all the time, even with podcasts, right? You're going to have criticism from a bunch of anonymous people. So when you deal with those type of criticisms, how do you not take like a lot of those things to heart, and how do you keep your, I guess, confidence high when, you know, people are saying, hey, I don't think you should do this, I think, you know, maybe this is not for you, maybe you should do something else, maybe you should just do background, maybe don't continue in the brand, you might be wasting your, you know, money trying to get your brand to explode, and they try giving you alternatives outside of what you believe in. How do you deal with that?
Because I'm from the ends, real shit, and I was grown with tough skin. Like the things that I've witnessed in my life and the things that I've gone through, a lot of people don't see and go through shit like that. And that's just shit like with my family knowing and whatnot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also have like a whole like you said, like I'm crazy that you picked that up though, like a spiritual side of this whole thing with like my mom and family praying all the time and stuff. But it's just at the end of the day, it's gonna come 5 or 10 years, and these people are all gonna disappear into their own realms of life. So I can't stick to what you're saying right now because you don't know me and you don't know what I'm going through and what I think in my mind. But at the end of the day, I have my own back and I know who I am. Like I am lucky for that I figured that out really early and I was tested. And I think because I've went through that testing phase, like I have friends that ask me like, yo, how do you like, bro, there's a lot of people coming at you right now in different ways about different shit. And I'm like, bro, because I know me. You know what I mean? So I think that's what attributes to that. But also, it's because I was raised with tough skin from the ends. If you're in the ends, the low income area, you gotta go through shit. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta go through man's ripping you, saying this, that, and the third, and be able to come back. Like, you know me? So
Come back stronger. That's how it
the
is.
comments and like it doesn't bother
Don't
me.
phase you.
Yeah, man. That's why I know my purpose.
So I wanted to ask in terms of lifestyle, how does that play a role in a clothing brand? I mean, what you represent. So, because people don't see the behind the scenes, right? Sometimes they may look at you when they see you in public. They might be like, this guy's stuck up. Look at him. He thinks he's the man. He has all these girls on him.
Talk to me and you have a conversation with me.
But I'm saying from the perception, they may just see you with women and be like, look at this guy. He thinks he's the man. He's too good for us now. He doesn't want to talk to nobody. Yeah, if you talk to anybody that talks to you, be like, oh, he's a down to earth guy. What are you talking about, man? No. From what I'm seeing, the way he's walking into this venue, he thinks he freaking knows it all.
Yeah, facts.
So my thing is with the lifestyle, how's that? I would say, what's the thought process you think that people receive when they see you walking out? Like, what do you think that they perceive of you?
To be honest, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Because a lot of people will project their own insecurities on you. So it's like I can't focus on stuff like that. The only thing that I can focus on is if someone approaches me and we have a one-to-one, the experience that I leave on them, and then I keep it moving. You know what I mean? So anyone looking at, like, you might look at my IG story, you see girls and you know what I mean, my shorty's fire, and like you might see a lot of things, but like it's just take it and just if you guys are out there and I'm looking the camera, just take it as you could accomplish things like this too, and it's not solely for someone like me, you, or you. It's like we're put on this earth, and if we believe in ourselves, put God first, you're gonna accomplish certain things that you never thought you will.
Absolutely.
So, Jariah, what's your thoughts on that in terms of how people like would perceive, like even you, because you're a guy that's 6'4", and you know that perception that they'll look at you and be like, this guy got it made. He's got the height, man. He's getting all these women, man.
Yeah, man.
Yo, how can I compete, man?
How can I compete?
How do I get into this, man? Yo, I need to roll with you, man. If I roll with you, I know I'll get whatever leftovers. The breadcrumbs. I'll take the breadcrumbs, man.
I want all the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, man.
I mean, listen, it's the same thing Ricky's saying. It's like you really can't focus on that. You just got to maintain honesty with yourself. I think when people realize if you focus on yourself, you pay attention to yourself, the things that you think that you're looking for in other people, you'll start manifesting it. I'm using that term, but you'll start finding a way to create it for yourself. So I don't really focus on that kind of energy, really. You see it. Sometimes it makes itself trying to be seen. Like they try to throw it at you so you can see it.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Peep game, you know.
Yeah, and then you look at it, and then you know, it should be a stab to kind of see where you're at, right? So it lets you test your mental strength and will to rise above these sorts of things. I mean, I welcome it for the most part, right? Obviously, there's a level where I always say all love unto the point of violation, right? So as long as there's no violation attached to the circumstance, people want to envy or have jealousy and things of that nature. I mean, you kind of roll with it. Comes with the territory.
Well, yeah, that is human nature. So obviously, you have to know how to deal with the ups and downs of emotions.
Exactly.
You have to deal with It's never gonna be perfect. It's never gonna be everyone loves you. It's never gonna be everyone hates you. But of course, we focus more on negativity. It just stands out more to us, right?
Exactly.
So if someone gives you a compliment compared to if someone disses you, you take the diss with a lot more emotion. Like if someone
then these days you
even for most people, to be honest, even with positive reinforcement, you know, if someone comes up to Ricky, right? I don't know, maybe you have pride in your brand. So if someone maybe came up to you and said, "Oh, like that shit's dope. Like, what's that?" Like, you might have some pride. Like, you might feel a way, or you might not feel a way. You're gonna appreciate that someone like without me promoting it, without me. They just came up, like you said, your situation where it's like, I'm not necessarily out there to promote it. It's just, that's my brand. Like I'm not promoting, I'm wearing my brand. Like, I don't think you come out necessarily, of course it comes hand in hand, but I think you come outside saying, this is my brand, this is what I represent. I'm not necessarily promoting it, but this is who I am.
Come on, like I put that shit on.
No, it's real shit.
I mean, you feel me?
It's your pride and joy. It's your pride and joy.
When you get that attraction and the energy that's flowing to you, you know, you put that shit on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if someone compliments you, you'll take it like positively. But if someone disses you, you probably your emotional reaction is far worse in a negative connotation. Not to say that you'll let it affect you, but we just have more of a reaction to a negative. Like if someone came to you and said like, that shit looks like something else I seen, like you'll still feel a way because you're going to say, wait, what? You're going to say, wait, what did you say?
I don't know, because if you came to me and were like, that's shit, I feel like it is.
No, but how about
what else are you going to say after that? Keep it moving.
But I guess it's more of a point if they said something like, oh, that looks like something, that looks like this, or that. You're gonna feel like you're gonna have to defend your brand in this. No,
because when you're locked and loaded, I didn't mean to cut you off, but from what I'm understanding, when you're locked and loaded with what you got going on in life, no one's gonna move that. When you really have the guidance and the blessing from the Most High, who can really alter your mission? They'll try to, right? They'll try to pry and try to pick down what you got, but at that stage in time, you're looking at that as confirmation. Yeah. See what I'm saying? To where you're heading to.
Oh, because they're acknowledging you. This
is what I'm saying. Like, look at where you guys. Exactly. Look where you guys are at right now. You're at a stage. My question for you guys is there anything someone can say that have you guys stop what you're doing right now?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Just because we started this from day one and nobody was there at those time periods, right? Exactly. And now all of a sudden, now you're seeing it and you feel the need to speak on it.
Speak on what you guys developed, what you guys created.
You're doing something right.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's hard to differentiate the constructive criticism to the criticism, because sometimes people are trying to help you. I'll give you pointers, and sometimes if they're not part of your circle, it's hard to respect certain opinions.
Well, honestly, in fashion, everything is remixed and regurgitated.
Yeah, there's no
100%.
brand. Yeah, there's no
Perception.
brand. It's all
You know what I mean?
perception.
Like if you
It
really
is.
look at like Balenciaga, even Off-White, Heron, like all these brands, they'll get their own like idea behind it and just regurgitate something that they feel is better.
They feel
Yeah.
better.
You know, that's just fashion, but that's just even life. Like you feel
That's
me?
life.
You hear it in raps, like
Yeah.
it's-
You hear
that's what
raps,
samples are. You know what I mean?
Podcasts,
Like,
podcasts. It's
yeah.
all at the end of the day.
All
There's not gonna
recycled.
be the hugest of differences
Yeah.
from brand to brand, from you know, from everything. Everything is not such, you know, light years apart. They're not that far apart. There's little tweaks that this person made in order to get to that level, little tweaks that that guy made in order to get to that level. I think that, you know, there's so many creative people on this earth, so there's gonna be a lot of people have the similar ideas or the same ideas you have, even though you think yours is very unique. I know we're all unique individuals, but you have to think how much people are on this earth. There's gonna be somebody that thinks similar to you,
oh,
if not.
definitely.
There's
If
no new
not
thing
more.
under the
And
sun.
I feel like that
Yeah.
should be embraced.
Yes, exactly.
And the reason I say that is because I dropped my Pavlos, right? The black ice lows that I'm wearing right now.
Okay, put down the camera, bro. You got to get that.
But
right.
fucking like it's like you look at Cool Kai, right?
Yeah.
And Nike just suing him for his stuff, where it's just like they should have embraced it, put him on the design team.
Yeah.
You look at the wave that he's created for his shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like that's his take on it, because he loves ones.
Yeah.
And I love ones, and I have ones lows. So it's like all these different like viewpoints of like this brand started this, but like I feel like I made it better. I feel like I made it in the way that I could put it to my audience, and then they really fuck with it. Different colorways, different collabs, and all that.
Absolutely. Give
We
it
all have our
variety.
own ideas, you know. So
100%.
Absolutely. I think you can't keep yourself in a box, you know. To those listening from this conversation, the biggest thing would be, you know, feeling like you're placed in a box, feeling like you have to follow certain standards or expectations, whether that's from your family, friends, you know, those that like you, dislike you, and those that like you. I think you just have to have that fluidity just to know that you can go any direction. There's no limit on you. There's no ceiling holding you from, you know,
100%.
reaching your goals and extending your arm. I think that's the biggest thing I got from this conversation when it comes to creating a brand, when it comes to creating a lifestyle. I think you do have to be a person that thinks outside the box first and foremost, and a person that has that self-confidence. And that might just come through being around the right people. That might come through, you know, listening to the right people, obviously, listening and watching others that have done it before you, trying to get those pointers from them. And then lastly is just going to be, you know, having that resiliency behind you. So always being able to persevere even through hard times, because I think that's the difference of those making it and those not making it. If you give up too easily, you'll never reach that finish line. I think if you continue to go, eventually you'll hit that point.
100%. I also, what I took from this whole conversation as well is that there's certain people that from the very beginning are just entrepreneur minded, that it's not something that they developed over time. It was just something that as they were growing up, they seen things different. They were dreamers in class. They weren't the guy that, you know, were so involved with the class discussions and what was going on. Their mind was somewhere else. They had this vivid imagination. They're the guys that, you know, when they went home and they were kids, they had all these imaginations when they were playing with their toys and stuff of that nature. They're creating things at a very young age. And you can see those different dynamics in different kids, where there's some that are creators and then there's some that are just, they go with the status quo. And then as they get older, they continue with the status quo, while the others in school, they're falling behind, but their mentality is just different. They're wired different in a sense. They're far from normal, I would say.
yes, sir.
And they would definitely, and they go down that road, and it's only until they leave those institutions where they can flourish and actually expand that that creative thought that they've always had, because now there's the teachers and that institution is not boxing them in within the system and telling them what they're supposed to learn and what they're supposed to get in order to become successful in this world. So I definitely gathered that from this conversation. Jiraiya, you had any takes that you received?
More so last words.
Yeah.
I'd say we'll come to a conclusion of most of this topic, but we do want to get some last words in terms of the topic at hand. You know, that resiliency. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, when you do your own thing in life and you have to face the world. You know, face the criticism, and you're the main person behind your ideas. I want to know your opinion on that, and maybe advice that you could give to those that are younger and maybe might be at this crossroads in their life when they're deciding, do I go to school? Do I pursue my dream? Because a lot of people are dreamers, but all dreams don't come true. You have to put in the work for your dream. So what's your advice and your take on those that want to create their own wave, their own movement?
I would say, maybe in the picture, just imagine yourself being incarcerated. How many individuals then would want to come check upon you and care about you and criticize you, right? You got to basically see who's stuck with you. And in a moment like that where you're isolated, who will care? These same individuals that have things to say about you negatively, will they care? You got to be able to understand a lot of this is a solo project. This is your journey. You shouldn't be mirroring somebody else. Should see how you're going to navigate. And if you feel good after thinking to yourself like this and you say, you know what, I'm going to be alone with this, but it still gives me joy. I understand this to be my calling. This is what does me right for who I'm trying to be and who I want to be and who I am. Then you're good to go. But if you have any kind of, kinks in that kind of armor, or you don't feel so quite comfortable with that, consider looking into yourself more, and then time will reveal itself to you, and then you'll be able to move from there. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Ricky? Rick?
Yeah, man. Fuck. I had a great time. You feel me? It's Povrich, the brand.
Yes, sir. Rick's
Just
in the building.
last words for the, whether it's for your branding and, any last word you want to give in terms of advice, in terms of your brand and where you're headed. And, hey, the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, no advice. I would say just like stick to your craft, whatever that may be. There's always gonna be people that poke at you, and there's always gonna be people that shit on you. But like, if you know you, just keep it moving and keep that vibe going, and something will come from it. Because you can't do something for years without nothing happening.
100%.
You feel me? So just
Straight facts.
don't focus on the negativity, even though it's gonna come, but use that negativity to add fuel to your fire. You feel me?
There you go.
But a side note, EP dropping before the end of the year. I'm actually working on music, which is crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I've always felt that too. I don't know, so I want to drop an EP.
Let's go. Drop the
6-track
EP.
like tape that just lets me know what's up.
You got to drop.
First collab coming. You guys will see more of that.
Okay.
And
Make sure you
also-
shout out the IG. Make sure you shout out the pages for
definitely.
everybody.
It's Povrich, Povrich. It's your boy Rix. If you want to find me on IG, it's just Rix with an underscore. But yeah, a new collection coming out too from the brand, like, which is gonna be before Christmas, so you guys can go shopping and buy your.
Okay.
Feel me? Your
Go, we're
people's
gonna need a piece of that, man.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
gonna
Yes,
need
sir.
a
I
piece
guess
of
you guys
that.
get it.
Let's get it.
I got you for it.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
You already know, man. I appreciate you two coming on as usual. We got Jiraiya in the building. We got Ricky in the building. It's an amazing podcast for those listening. Make sure you take some of the pointers that we talked about. If you want to start your own brand, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to go your own way in life, it's good to listen to this type of stuff because these guys have done it. They've had some experience in this. So without further ado, it's your boy, Fuzzy Vision.
And your boy, Sunny Frames.
And we are out. Deuces.